let's see. I'm watching my stream, seeing when I'm going online. Oh, there I go. Ain't that nice? And let's just do the usual couple of 20 seconds to make sure people have a chance to get through the commercials. Hi, Dark Winter Dreams. Yeah, I know you're busy, Sazu and Welshie. That's what you get for being multi-mods. So, it's Monday, and it is autumn for sure now. I have had a rainy Monday. It's like drizzling outside all the day, so the cats, they're sleeping on the couch, go out once in a while just to get a little bit of water in the fur and get rubbed through when they get inside. Hi Binky, welcome to the stream. So today it is back to Gamemaker. You are watching a vlog by Trainer Jody. Okay, yeah, cool. Hi the red one, welcome to the stream. So today is Gamemaker Day again. As you can see, I've got my project window open here. If you watch the other streams, yeah, it's game dev again. So right now I have like my one room here. Something just happened. What just happened? Did someone just subscribe or follow? I heard a sound. Oh, Sazu is hosting me. Thank you, Sazi. Sazu. It's time to make sure that Benighted he gets some enemies in here. Now I'm just gonna scroll out. As you can see, remember from the last times, it's like a pretty empty room. Not a lot of stuff is going on here. No platforms except the one to test whether you can jump up or down. All we really have, if we go to the run sections now, is like our main character. So we have our character here, side to side, jumping. I was thinking that before I do anything else, I should just quickly add some of the sprites to make sure that when you move left or right, you don't just get this idle sprite, because I already have a couple lying around. The tweet thing on Twitch, that's a good question. Let me just try and see here what it wants to say to me. It says Gamemaker Enemies parenting and using tiles for lvl-design. I'm wondering when that share button stopped including the URL for the Twitch channel. Oh well. That's new. Well, a lot of things has happened with their new interface, so we'll just live with it and try to adjust accordingly. But it should send out the right title. There's just no link, so if you use the share button for Twitter, you might want to put in the link so you can see what's going on. So, like I said, this is what we have at the moment. We have our bear, it moves sideways and it jumps, but it's still just the one default idle sprite that it has on. So I thought that we could just start out by closing this down and add a few more sprites for the bear, since I have them. So I'm going to go into create sprite. I'm going to load sprite. And this is the wrong folder, so let's go up a bit here, go into the platform project, images, and let's see what we have here. As you can see here, I have some different sprites, and that's because movement wise we have like the standard idle, that's just the front view. Then we have the the falling bear for when you jump up and down, the jumping bear, and the bear running. And as you can see, there's only one here because we use the code to make sure that you change direction. With this one, you go in and then you use some image X scale code, and then you just make it a mirrored image of this one. That way you can save a little bit on graphics, and that's always a good thing. So let's take this one, player bear running, and let's open that one up. And let's call it SPR. As you can see, I'm trying to still stick with some naming conventions, so I name things in the same way throughout my coding. The reason I do that, if you've never worked with code before, is because if you are not consistent in the way that you name your coding, like I use mainly all small letters, no capital letters if I can avoid it. Because if you use like a mix match of capital letters and small letters, you might not be able to remember what you called everything. And since Gamemaker and most coding languages are pretty specific about what you wrote, spelling errors and errors in whether or not you use capital letters are really annoying to debug. Thank you, Zazu. It's still pretty simple graphics, all made with GIMP and basically just using the spherical tool to put everything in there. What I basically did was I took my frontal image and because everything was made in the layer's eyes, I just deleted one of the eyes. I moved the snout from the middle of the face to the side of the face, and the same thing with the ear, deleted one of them, kept the other one, and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do this with as much reusing what I already have to show that you don't always have to have big advanced graphics or big advanced code as long as you use it as efficiently as possible. So. And as you can see here, I remember to center my sprite, so I have the origin of my sprite in the dead center here. When we start talking about jumping and stuff, when we come to the enemies, I'm going to talk a little bit about this origin point you have here, because right now it's like it is pretty simple graphics. Well, of course you have to, you know, have a little bit of practice in using a graphics program. But it's like drawing with a pencil. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And when you've done it a lot, you start kind of saying some stuff is simple graphics because it can be done with very simple shapes. While advanced graphics, I do a lot more detail and stuff like this. But since we're trying to save on graphics and assets all in all, keeping it simple with not too many colors is always a good idea. There's always the option of going out and downloading characters that other people made. There's actually a lot of free graphic online. If you go searching for sprites, you can find it there. Oh no, and it says it's not a struggle, Welshie. Doing anything even remotely artsy is always, it's supposed to be a struggle, I think. So as long as you feel that you're struggling when you draw something, at least you're still in development as an artist, you can say. And you're going to be in development as an artist for all your life if that's the direction you choose. So back here to the sprite. Right now, if you remember from last time, there's this thing called a mask. This is this dark shadow here. automatically it goes to the edge of the image. If I go to full image here, you can see when it'll just be like, this is the collision mask that makes, or bounding box, that makes sure when you are registers as colliding with something else. So full image from the side, no. I really want to be able to make sure that as soon as it gets anywhere in close, I want to use that. So let's do the automatic. It cuts itself like that. I think that works fine. So let's take that one. There we go. So that is our sprite player run. And let's go back into our object and look at the step code here. Where the heck, let's see, where did I put my initialize? There we go. Sometimes I really can't remember where in the code I put stuff, so oh, it's of course because he just has the sprite player idle and I haven't done it in the steps yet. So as you can see, remember from last time here, we of course have these things where you run your player input, and this is the horizontal with the move and everything, and then you've got your collision check down here as well, and down here you have your vertical collision, which is whether or not you're on a platform or on a world as well. So you can jump, basically, so you can jump. There was a couple of things I talked about last time. As you can see up here, there is a little bit of code that wasn't there the last time. It was because I wanted to look into how I could use both the arrow keys and WASD for moving. And that is actually what these two lines of codes up here is doing. They're calling a function that's built into Gamemaker, and it's keyboard mapping, very simple. So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that I map my A key to my left arrow key, and I map my D key to my right arrow key. When I do that, when they do these keyboard checks down here, then it'll register it as a right arrow press, whether I press D that you have here, or the VK right that you have here, the virtual keyboard. Yeah, I was pretty happy about that, wasn't she? Let's see, what's people writing in chat? Yeah, you need practice. That's true, Dark Winter Dreams. Drawing is one of those weird things where you can try to explain to people if you already know how to do it, and it can be pretty hard to explain because for instance, I can't remember a time of my life where I didn't draw. I mean, I had a period of time after I was an adult where I decided to go all adult and stuff, and make sure I got my education, make sure I got my in the workforce and stuff like that. And I had like an 8-year drought where I didn't draw, and to me that was a very, very long time to not draw, because it's something I've always done. But a lot of people, they kind of get stuck around the area where they stopped. So if you, for instance, was a 4th grader when you stopped drawing, that'll be like the point in time where you're gonna pick up from again, because that's kind of would I use this code if I was going to create a 2-player game? That really depends on what type of 2-player game I was using, because I might not use a keyboard for a 2-player game. I might want to use a keypad instead, and Gamemaker is made in a way so it can handle using keypads too. But for keyboards, well, I would set it so that each player would have the same choices here, so that each player at each their keyboard, because I'm assuming they're not sitting at the same keyboard, so that each of them would have this option. Because this event here, where I set all these values here and tell it to do this, this is an object, this is an event happening only in this object, player 1. If I have an object that's a player 2, there would be no issue with it having the same code up here. There's just a lot of other things that you would have to do with a game to make it a two-player game, of course. So, but yes, this here is one of the ways you can. I found more than one way. I might go into some of it later on, but this is one of the ways where you can map your WASD keys to respond to your arrow keys, or the other way around. So right now the game doesn't really care what I press as long as I press the buttons that I've marked up here. You can always also, there's another method as well. I can try just writing it in here. I could do a method called max, where I would write max in front, and then I would write keyboard pressed, because that's the one we keyboard check here. And then I would just put in, for instance, odd A. Make sure I get all my parentheses closed up properly, but not that one. Only for this piece here, because then I'd do my comma, and then I just put in the next keyboard check I wanted, and the next, and the next, and the next. For instance, for an any key event, I would do a keyboard check on any key, and I could do that either by using any key, or I could do it by simply typing out all the different keys I want to respond, with commas in between them. The reason this works is that this max thingy here, what this does is it returns the maximum value of all the keys you list. So if you, for instance, are pressing the A key, if you remember from last time, when I press the key, it'll return a 1. If I don't press it, it'll return a 0. So all the keys that I list, it will get either a 0 or a 1 value from this. So this would be keyboard check and VK left, of course, because it had to fit with the A there. Like that, and then end parentheses. Then it would check these two keys, the A and the VK left, and the one that returns the highest value would be the one whose value it used. And since none of them can return a value above 1, then I have my 1 and 0 Boolean choice once again. Yeah, the error thing in here is really good. If I remove this parenthesis, and it just jumps right to the next line of code and says, if this line of code is going to work, something's wrong. And then if you read the error message down here, it'll also write what it thinks is wrong. So here it expects a parenthesis, or a bracket, or whatever we call them. So if I do that again there, my error, oh, that was the wrong, my error message will go away. There we go. I'm just going to remove this piece of code, because this piece of code here is basically just the same I would say key right equal to, and then I would stuff in this piece here. Key left, of course, it's the left. So it would be key left and then this piece of code instead of this up here and this down here. So let's just remove this again. But I just wanted to share that because I thought that was really nice figuring out. So I wasn't pressed to choose either the arrow keys or the WASD. You can, of course, if you want to have the player choose an option, make an options menu where you go in and let the player map their own keys. What do I know? Maybe someone wants to play with IJKL or something like that. Some weird place in the keyboard, but this way I know I've at least covered the usual options. Hi, Captain Leaf. So, because it's Monday, let's say, cheers, it's raining, I'm having a beer. So let's just put some comment up here, because that way I remember what I did for a later date. So, maps the A key to left arrow key. Let's just copy that. And place that. Right arrow key. I love my comments. They really help me out a lot later, especially if I have to kind of explain things here. So, I was going to figure out what place I needed to put in my sprites to make sure that we run the right way. So let's just look through my security code from when I did it the last time. Oh yeah, there we go. So we got all our different collisions set up as it should be, and now we want to add some animation. Oh, let me just move some windows on my other screen so I can see if anything is happening in chat. Hi Eric, welcome. So what I want to do here is I want to go in below the last of the code that I already have. I want to make a new piece of code to make sure my sprites get placed rightly, and I'll just call that one animate. So I am going to say like this: if my character is not moving, I wanted to keep the idle sprite so that if it's not moving, I've got this nice frontal view of the bear. And if it starts moving one side or the other, I want the sprite player run. And if it's doing vertical movement, I want it to choose from either the jump if it's going upwards or the fall if it's going downwards. So let's get those other two sprites in here as well. So I have my animate ready down here. So sprites. Let's create one more sprite. Load sprite. Let's grab the falling one. Let's check the collision mask. That looks pretty okay. Center the sprite, and let's call it SPR player 4. I could do these tutorials as videos. It would probably be a lot a lot faster to go through a lot of this because I wouldn't have to manually input everything. But honestly, I'm having much fun with this, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. One more sprite, create sprite, load sprite, and let's get the jumping bear. Open, collision checking. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And SPR, layer, jump, and center the sprite. There we go. So I now have my different sprites set up to run both directions, to jump upwards and to fall downwards. So these are like the 3 extra we're going to put in. So let's go back into the step code where we put up at the bottom. Oh, my nose is itching, so annoying. We're gonna put in this animate section. So first of all, I want to make sure that it's moving, because as I said, if it's not moving, I just want it to be the idle sprite. So I'm going to do an if statement. So if move not, you might remember that that means not equals 0. That's like the first condition I want to set up, that if it's not moving, wait a second, what did I do there? I forgot to put comments in that code. Huh. Scale equals move. Well, it's the same as the last time. Every time I forget to put in comments, I have to read through my code and figure out why the hell I put the code in that I did. So yeah, always hi to the lurkers. I do appreciate lurkers. I've spent a lot of my time on Twitch lurking. Still do. Nothing better than finding a good channel, just jump in and having it as a background while I'm doing some other stuff as well. That's a big deal of what I'm doing on Twitch. If HSP. Yes, that's what I wanted to do. If move is not equal 0, image x scale, and I'm going to show you something funny here. If I have something that turns red, one of the methods I'm using from Gamemaker, I just put my mouse above it and click the middle button. It will do this. It will bring up the explanation for the code. So this is the explanation for image X scale. As you can see here, this is the original. This is an X scale on 1.0 and an X scale of -1. So if you have the original here and you have the X scale -1, you can see here that -1 will flip the image, right? We already have the sprite that we need for like our standard movement, because that's the one we have up here as sprite player idle, so that's just going to be the default one. But I want to make sure that if I'm not moving, image X scale is going to be set to move, the value of move. So if movement is not equal to 0, my image X scale equals move. Now I'm going to do some checks because when you have your animation, you can do it so that when it runs into a wall, the animation stops, or you can do it so when you run into a wall, the animation continues, and that all depends on what values you're working with. I'm just going to write down some code, and then I'm going to do my best to explain it here. So some of this you might remember from or you can just look up here and see what I'm working with. This is collision checking. So, oh, and that should be a small I, never a big I. If place meeting, and then it pops up down there, and then you know it wants an X and a Y and the object that this is about. So I'm gonna do X, and just so you know what I'm working with here, I'm working with the horizontal placement. So if place meeting X point Y, and when I write X and Y here, it's of course the object I'm working with, it's their X and Y. And when we talk about something like an object here, we often define that from the sprite. So if I go into the sprite here, this is actually where this comes in. It's my origin X and Y. If you remember default, it will set it up here in the corner, and it will be like, this is where I start drawing from as a computer when I draw this drawing. But it is also the X and Y we use when we need to figure out if stuff is colliding with other stuff or not. So just doing a little bit of talk about that as well. X, Y plus 1. Make sure I don't get a lot of spaces. It doesn't, you might have noticed that I make a lot of spaces here. And this arrow down here is not because I'm putting in spaces, because the Gamemaker is developed to be able to handle spaces. So you can say I wouldn't have to do all the spaces I do, I can do them for visibility. So if you want to space stuff out more, just make sure that when you use expressions like this, that you don't use spaces in between the text and the brackets you're working with. Y plus 1 and obj wall. Pumpkin enemy. Pumpkin enemy, that's a good idea. OBJ wall. So right now I'm checking if right below me, am I colliding with something? Because Y plus 1, that's below me, and am I colliding with the object wall? If I'm colliding with the object wall below me, I'm standing on something. And if I'm standing on something, I'm not going to use my fall animation, and I'm not going to use my jump animation or sprite. So I know that the two sprites I can work with if I move horizontally, I'm not moving up and down, it's going to be my idle, the front-facing one, and it's going to be my run. So I checked out, I'm standing on something, so if I'm standing on something, we're going to make some bracket and tell what's going to happen if I'm standing on something. And as you can see here, I'm moving, my move is not equal to 0. So bracket, I'll go down here and do the other bracket, so I've got the pair lined up. Oh, that's the wrong bracket, make it the right bracket, there we go. And remove the wrong bracket, yes. There we go. Oh, there needs to be one more bracket up there as well. I knew that from the error code. So now I know that I'm standing on something. I want to check, am I moving? So, and am I moving sideways? And if you can remember from the the object create event, we have this value called HSP, which is my horizontal speed. And we're going to work with that one. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say if HSP is not equal to 0. Once again, I use my not. There we go. If HSP is not equal to 0, I want something to happen. I want the sprite index I want the sprite index to equal the sprite called sprite player run. So sprite index equals SPR player run. See, it turns red. It recognizes that I have this sprite available. So that's like the first part of it. But it could be 0, you know. So let's do this and say else. That's if it's 0, we're not moving. And I just talked about that before. I want my sprite index, that means my sprite, to be equal to SPR, and I get everything to choose from here. SPR underscore player idle, like that. So what's really saying here is if I'm standing on something and if I'm moving horizontally, I want the run sprite. If I am standing on something and I'm not, I want the idle sprite. Hi Sukaila, welcome. Welcome to the stream. If you don't know, Sukaila is a very talented artist. I love her drawings. She does some of the best trolls, actually. I should have had you make sprites for the troll enemy. Because yours are just adorable. Well, that was kind of the horizontal. Are you moving in the horizontal direction or not? If you're standing still, just face forward, and if you're not standing still, face to one of the sides, okay? Also up here, if you remember, our move can be a positive or a negative value. So if move up here is not equal to 0, up here I will get returned an either positive or negative value as well. And that's a good thing because it tells me what way my sprite is facing. Of course, we have the other two sprites I just put in, which is the vertical sprites, whether you're jumping up and down. So let's get those in there as well. So we have like this if statement here. If I'm meeting a wall, am I standing on something and doing all this horizontal thing? Then I use those sprites. But this is an if statement, so something else can happen. So if I'm not standing on something, that means that collision is not happening. There's no wall right beneath me. That means I am vertical movement. So I'm going to do an else here. And we're going to look into what else is going to happen. Put in my brackets because I know I need those. Get that one down there. Yeah. So, and this is pretty close to what I just did. If, and this time of course it's VSP. You remember VSP for vertical speed? But what I want to know here is if my vertical speed is larger than 0, because now I want like a positive or a negative value. If my vertical speed is 0, I'm not moving. And if there's nothing beneath me, I'm definitely moving because I built in gravity for that. So if my vertical speed is above 0, well, then I'm jumping. If my vertical speed is below 0, I'm falling. So we do a check here, and if vertical speed is, oh, I did that the other way around. If my let's go back to the x and y. We have like 0, 0 up here, and then we've got y positive downwards, x positive out there. So if I'm smaller than 0, I'm definitely jumping. You can see I get confused by that as well, so if you do, don't feel bad about it. It's better to be a bad coder than not be a coder at all because you're afraid of being a bad one. So, if my vertical speed is below 0, I'm jumping. So, sprite index equals to Phobos. Hi and welcome. Good to see people I haven't seen before. Sprite index equals sprite player jump, of course. There we go. And since this is an if statement, which we're looking at here, your vertical speed can definitely be below 0, but can also be above 0. So let's just say else, like we did in the vertical check up here. Else sprite index equals SPR player 4. Okay, that should be that. I have no errors down here, so let's try just saying yes, we like that, yes, we like that, and then run it and see what the result is. There we go. Oh, something went wrong here. Did I move the bear around? Because something is not working. I'm stuck in graphic. Let's go into the room. Starting out up here. I did not change any of the other values, so that shouldn't be an issue. Let's try again. Nope, something's definitely gone wrong here. Oh well. See, I can't jump, can't do anything because all my collision checks make sure that if there is a collision, I can't move anywhere. Oh well. Let's go back in and see what the devil I did there. So let's go into our player object once again. Step, code. What did we mess around with? Placement object wall. I did do something up here. Did I forget to put it back the way I had it? No, shouldn't be an issue. Gravity is too strong. That's a good one, Eric. Let's see. If move not equals 0, inject scale move, place meeting, x, y plus 1, object wall, just speed not equal to 0, sprite index by 1, no sprite index by idle. That's really weird. This should not in any way have done anything here, so it might be a spelling mistake somewhere. Phobos, you say collision with the wall. Which, the wall collision I put in here? because I really can't remember that I did anything different with the wall collision I already had. Oh, if some of you remember last time I said that I didn't really know what this sign thing did. So I did the magic click thing and went in and looked at it. And as you can see, the sign function returns whether a number is positive, negative, or neither. So 1, -1, or 0 is like the value you get out of that. And that kind of explains why it's usable. Let's see. Am I rolling? I already have a horizontal collision up here, Phobos, where I do the am I running into a wall check out here, you can see in this method. And there's my vertical collision. Because these two collision checks that I have up here, what they basically should be doing is they should check out if there's a wall within my movement. And if there's a wall, they should move me 1 pixel at a time closer to the wall until I'm pixel perfect collision up against the wall. So it really shouldn't go in. So well, that's one of the interesting things that happens when you do stuff like this. Let's try opening up the other version I have of this and see if there's something here that was different the last time, because it definitely worked in that one. Yeah. Just seems weird that I did that. No, oh well. That's the thing about coding. Sometimes you get errors that you can't immediately see. Oh, well, having an error is definitely not a disaster, Sazo. It's actually, sometimes it's a really good thing, especially when you're teaching, because you're going to have to go through the stuff you already did. And trying to make sure, I had an error at one point because I didn't think when I was coding, and one of the Y's I put in was a capital Y. So mistakes is where you learn stuff. There's definitely something wrong with this vertical collision. Well, this is not happening. Do this and put vertical speed to 0 when it's done. And Y equals. Yeah. Let's see. I have some text I can compare to on the other screen, so let's just go here and see. Yeah, exactly, red one. Yeah, one capital letter can make the difference, will she? Or if you forgot a bracket, if you put a colon in instead of a semicolon, if you forgot not the apostrophe sign. Oh, do sit over by the sofa and have a happy lurk time. So let's see, I'm gonna go up here and check what I have here. Those are other events. Keyword, one player input. Left We didn't check anything there. Move and move speed, key left and key right. If vertical speed is above 10 plus gravity, yeah, that works as well. Collision check, standing on something. There we go. That one says VSP plus key underscore jumps times minus jump speed. That shouldn't be an issue. Something went wrong. It should be somewhere in the vertical collision. Syntax errors and brackets. Oh yeah. It was the death of me sometime back when I was still in school doing this. If place meeting x point x comma y plus vertical speed object all yes, while not let is meeting x comma y plus value VSP object all y plus equals sign VSP equals 0. That looks good as well. Plus equals VSP. When we get all the way down to the enemy. If there's any logic in this, my error should be down here. Because that's the only new code I've added. So, and the good thing about this one is I didn't even get an error message, so I really have to read everything through. Not equals 0, image x scale equals move. Yes. Place meeting, x, y plus 1, object wall, yes. Horizontal speed not equals to 0. Sprite index equals sprite player run, semicolon. Else, semicolon, yes. A fishing minigame. Who doesn't need a fishing minigame? Anything needs a fishing minigame if it hasn't got it. I'm wondering if it could be something, an issue with the collision box, because let's try do something. I let it do auto when it did the collision box, but that might not be what we need here. Let's do to the edges on all of them. Center. Save that one. Center. Full image. Because if it's not exactly the same collision box, the edge of the collision box on one of the sprites might have gone into the graphic below it. And then when it tries to change to another sprite, it's going to have issues. Full image, center, yes. Jump, full image, okay. Center, yes. Okay, let's try running that one again. Yes, that was it. As you can see this time, it wasn't really a thing about the code. It was a thing about the graphics. And the thing is that right now when I have the image on using the full image for the collision box, the size of this image is the same size no matter if it's jumping up, falling down, going left or going right. So you can see there. But if I let it do the automatic, then there might be a slight pixel difference because you can see when you jump up and when you fall down. The image will be shorter when it's falling down because it makes this in a different position. So, yay for figuring that out. So, make sure that if this happens to you, check your collision boxes, trying to make sure that you have the same size collision box no matter what direction you're moving. Good for me. So far so good. we solved the problem. That's always a good thing. And we got that fixed. So right now, we got that done. Okay, so let's go back to some of the stuff that was actually on the agenda for today, which was in enemies, parenting, and using tiles for level design. If you can remember last time, we did a vote for enemies, and the two enemies that came out victorious was a troll and a hunter. I've been doing a little bit of graphic work on it, not a lot. Not that one, of course. Let's go and then try and fish that one out. Here we go. As you can see here, this is once again a lot of layers done just with the spherical tool. I can try turning them on and off, and then you can see what the difference is, whether we have this layer or not. So you can see it's all just a question of grabbing the spherical tool, doing some shapes, doing some bucket fills with color. And then in this case, I've made sure that I have like one base color, which is the one that's here on the stomach and the head. And if I want something to kind of stick out more, I do a slightly lighter shade for that, and a lighter even more if I want to stick out more, like the chin and the nose. But again, I'm keeping it to simple graphics. So so you can see this is like the creative visual part of the evening. Now we're looking at this. I started out on the troll because the hunter is going to need some more coding, because as I understand a hunter needs to shoot things. And shooting things is, there's a bit more in it than when you just do a character that you can run into. So the enemy type that we're trying to do right now is basically just like one of those running back and forth on the floor. If you jump on top of it, you're gonna kill it, and if you run into the side of it, it's gonna kill you. So that's like a pretty simple concept. I actually think doing the drawing of this has taken longer time than doing the code for it, because a lot of the movement code for this troll I can just basically copy paste and do a bit of changes on the movement code that I did for my object player, because the troll is going to do the same thing. It's going to check, is it standing on something, and if it's standing on something, it's going to move either left or right. And the reason I put in parenting here was that the idea was to do this simple figure. It's going to move left and right. But as you know, in platform games, some enemies, they can fall off a platform and move on throughout the level, while other enemies, they're kind of stuck on a platform. So that was what I wanted to show when I used the parenting code. Right now, I'm gonna do some stubby arms on this troll here and put it in as an idle image, and then we are gonna use this one as you're gonna get arms, Pinky. They're not gonna be very big because I don't want an image where they stick out too much, but I just want kind of stubby little arms there. Maybe a bit of T-Rex style arm. So I'm gonna do a new layer to put my arms on. New layer. Just keep it to the same size here. And on this new layer, I'm gonna grab my spherical tool and I'm gonna pull out a shape a bit like this. Luckily I can turn this one around. the way I want it. So I'm just going to go into the layer of the belly, and I'm going to steal the color there. So I've got the color there now. Grab my bucket and fill it into this arm so they have the same color. Now I'm going to use a rotation tool. This is this one up here. So click that one, click here. Now I get the option to rotate. So I rotate, click on the rotate button, and now it's rotated. And I can, because it's in a separate layer, move it around as I want it to. So there we go. And because you can see now it's just a floating selection, I'm going to anchor the layer so it comes down to the layer I made it in. Then I'm going to take that layer, I'm going to go down and do the auto crop layer function because I really like that one. And then I'm going to duplicate the layer and move it to the other side, transform the layer and flip it horizontally, and then I have another arm. There you go. Two very stubby little arms. So, and like I said, I could do a lot more detail on this, but as I'm doing this layered, so I can use it for animation later if I wanted to, I'm already up to 13 layers now. So let's just say, 18 layers I can see up here. So I've got something that's not even called layers. So I'm going to say that this is pretty okay for now. I'm going to go to the top of my layers. I'm going to push the layer button. I'm going to do new from visible. New from visible gives me one layer. If I turn off all the other layers here, it kind of grabs all the graphic from all the layers I've had visible and then just transform it into one layer. So I have now this layer with the troll on it, and that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to press Ctrl C and Ctrl Shift V, and then I get it in its own window here. And I'm going to save this troll and close it down for now. Save and close. So this here is the troll image we're working on. Well, at least you can be hugged. It's the story about the sad troll chasing a hug from the teddy bear. That's so tragic. So I'm going to auto crop this layer because I want it to be as close into the area I actually drew on as possible. And this is because just because something is transparent doesn't mean that the computer the computer will always use the entire image, even though some of it is transparent and has an alpha value. So no reason to make a big picture with a lot of alpha value in it when we can just do a small picture. So layer, auto crop layer, there we go. There we should have gone at least. Layer, layer, auto crop layer. Yeah. Oh, I should have done image instead, of course. I only have one layer. Let's do that again. Image. And where's my auto crop? Auto crop image. There we go. I have this one. And I'm going to save it so it's easy to find again. And once again, like I explained before, when you do this, this is not as much a save as it's an export because you're going to change it into a different file type. So right now what we have here is, I'm going to call this one troll idle because idle is the name I use if I have like a full frontal for when they're standing still as well. And I'm gonna do a PNG because they are good at translating alpha values. I'm gonna do my cancel. Gonna make sure I put it into the right folder as well. Let's see, there we go. Gamemaker, platform, images, troll, idle, PNG, export, and I don't need to save creation time or save comments. I just want background color resolution and values from transparent pixel and a high compression level. So let's export that. There we go. One enemy. Enemy number one. And let's start out by making sure we get that sprite imported in here. So create sprite, load sprite. Troll idle, here he is, our friend. Now let's just look at this, size-wise. My bear is 128 pixels tall. My troll is 463 pixels tall, which means he's gonna be a giant troll if I don't scale him down a bit. So let's go back in here, image, scale image, and put the height to 128. There's this chain link here. If I break it, it won't scale correctly, so I'm not breaking it. I'm just marking up here, and then it scales it according to the height I set. And I'm going to scale that. And I'm going to export to Troll Idle. There we go. Start that one again. Load sprite. Troll. Now you can see the numbers here. Now it's 128 tall. So that's a lot better. Open. Modify mask. Full image. Let's stick to that. Center it like that. And call it SPR. Troll idle. It's not sure this troll is going to have any excuse to be idle at all, and I might just end up switching this for only having sprites of the troll going side to side. But right now, this is good enough for me, because all I need right now is like placeholder graphics to make sure that the functions are right before it's going to work out. And with that, we passed the first hour of this stream. And if you've been here before, you know that that means I need a 10-minute break so I can stretch my leg and whatever I do in 10 minutes. So when we get, it's 8 minutes past now. So in approximately 10 minutes, I'll come back to you, continue talking, and we're going to do some coding for this. Hopefully without errors, so we can get through it fast with just the copy paste that it really is. And then after that, I'll hopefully have some time left over to make sure that we get to talk a little bit about using tiles for graphic. So 10 minutes from now, if I see you, I do. If I see you, if I don't, I don't. Never mind that. Just have fun out there.